Welcome back to the Global Falcons podcast. I'm your host, Andrew L.G. Hunter.
And I'm your host, Angela Hunter.
And we are here with Amie Wilhelm.
Hi.
Hello, Amie, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We have some questions. Ange, you want to start us off with the first one?
Sure. Well, who is Amie and Lather Hair Co?
Okay, well, I don't even know where to start with that.
That's a loaded first question.
It's a loaded question. Who am I?
When I did it, I couldn't come up with
I'm like, I can go on for hours, or I can make this real short and sweet. Basically, I'm just like I'm a small town girl. I grew up northeast of Prince Albert. I grew up going to Candle Lake every weekend, and I moved to Saskatoon in 2007. I did a year of pre-university classes to get into education. Obviously, I'm like playing with my hair. So I had originally moved to Saskatoon to start like a career in education and become a teacher because my dream was to be a cosmetology teacher. Nice. So first year, like any university student, didn't really go too hot. And I finished that year, took a year off, and then decided that, man, I really need to get an education to get a job. So then that's when I decided to go to hair school, and I got my cosmetology diploma in, I believe, 2009, maybe 2010. I don't know. It was a very long time ago. And so then, long story short, I did hair behind the chair full time. Until 2018, I had some like really cool experiences. I worked at an Aveda concept salon with Alicia Soulier, who was like a really well-known entrepreneur in our city. So she started off with Capelli, and I was like one of the founding members of that. And we went to Minneapolis for education, and like we were like the new it salon, and it was really cool. And that kind of like inspired me, and like I've always wanted to have that, but my own. So as the years progressed, I like moved to other salons, and then in 2018, me and my husband had lost our son, and I just decided that like I couldn't really work behind the chair anymore. So from there, I decided to go back to university. And I completed my Bachelor of Education. So I majored in cosmetology. Thanks. And I minored in social studies, but I like to like say that social studies is so vast that like Indigenous studies is my area, and specifically Métis history. I'm like a huge geek. So I finished that, and I have been teaching in Saskatoon for the last 4 years. I started up some cosmetology programs. I started a 10-20-30 program at a high school here, I won't say where. And then I worked at like my dream job, cosmetology teacher in the city here. And just like with the way union stuff happens, I just like couldn't get it in. So then I just like kind of decided, like I'm just going to do my own thing. And so I did. So yeah, I'm kind of like a go-getter. I'll just like, somebody tells me no, well, I'll still figure out how to get there. So I kind of just decided like, I've been trying to put hair into education all this time, and it's great. And I love teaching, and I love what I do. However, I just kind of want to do it on my own terms too. So this is a way I can do that. So I get to funnel both career paths that way. So I get to be a teacher. So I teach my stylists behind the chair. I might even become a teacher, like a hairstyling, like master stylist for a company. I'm looking into that. And then I still am teaching part-time as well, like within Saskatoon.
So you're like really busy.
I'm very, very busy. I don't know how to turn it off. I love it. I'm very passionate about lots of things. I'm obviously like really passionate about like my Métis history and teaching like elementary to middle years, high school. Like I just love it. But I also like missed hair. So I'm coming back in full force, and now I have my own version of what we had in 2012 when Capelli had opened. So yeah, it's really cool.
What a great intro.
I don't know. Like, it's crazy. I just kind of go get her.
I find most entrepreneurs are always doing multiple things. Do you find that difficult? Because you just doing a lot of things.
I'm doing a lot of things, but I also don't do well when I sit still. So yes, is it difficult? Yes, 100%. But also I don't like to not do anything. So I think it's like kind of good for me in a way too. But I also need to like slow down sometimes. But
I can definitely relate.
Yeah.
That's great. What's the next one here? What gave you the drive to achieve success as an entrepreneur?
Well, I don't even know if I'm there yet. Success is a very big word in my vocabulary, and I feel like we're a month out of opening, and with the opening, there's systems that need to be put in place and things that need to be done differently than other salons because we are a Euphoria partner salon. I want it to like be that. Like, I want you to live that, and yeah, so there's systems that need to be put in place, and I'm not successful yet, but I really hope that I will be successful. I think we have a lot of great things going on for us, but yeah, I think that we have a lot to show our city and show our city what we're capable of and kind of go from there. But yeah.
Can you just like dive into a little bit of how it's different? I'm very
so Euphoria. Oh my gosh. So Euphoria. So I'm going to back to 2012 when we were like in an Aveda salon. So I'm Aveda trained. I worked at other salons before, but I had like significant training with Aveda, where we would like, well, for example, Alicia, like my mentor, she was a master stylist who was trained by a master stylist who was trained by a master stylist. And so Alicia won like Contessa's, which is like hair awards and stuff. And like she was very into Aveda at the time. And Aveda was a different line. So it's like very aromatherapy. It's clean for you, clean for the planet, clean for everybody. And then she inspired our whole team by taking us to Minneapolis. And we went to a hair show there. And I got to sit front row with her. She bought 2 VIP tickets. And I sat front row with her, and I was just like in awe, like seeing these people on stage teaching us things that I had never seen before. Like, there was a master stylist on stage. I'm not even kidding you. His scissors had like 7 blades, and he's just like doing the things. And it like totally inspired me. It was like a fashion show, but it was hair. And then they taught us like how to do shoots on stage and stuff. And then we all went to these breakout sessions where the people that were on stage were the ones teaching us.
Oh, wow.
So I was just like totally inspired. And then come back to Saskatoon. We're inspired. We're talking about it. We're also obsessed with the products that we use because A, they smell so good, B, they're high performing, and C, they're good for you and the environment. Like, it was just like a no-brainer. Like, you lived it. Yeah. And that's kind of like why I went with Euphoria too, is because I was going to go with Aveda, which is, I love Aveda still to this day. Now there's a lot more like great brands out there that are doing great things that are like sustainable and good for the environment and good for you and healthy. But I was like, oh, I better see what's out there before I like, spend a lot of money on a line. And so I met with this rep and I said to her, she's like, well, what do you like? And I'm like, well, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to open up an Aveda salon, but I'm just double checking that there's not something new and better out there before I do this. And so exactly, right? Because I've been under the game for a little while. And so she's like, well, have you heard of Euphoria? And I'm like, well, yeah, like we used to use it back in the day when we couldn't get Aveda, but like, I don't know. I wasn't like here nor there with it. Like, tell me more. And so she's like, well, actually, like the founder of Aveda and the founder of Euphoria worked on Aveda together. And then they just wanted to have their own companies. So it's like very clean, aromatherapy, good for you, good for the environment. Like when you smell it, you can't get that smell out of your, like it's something that you want to come back because it smells so good. and the experience too. So then you have like your hand massages, your euphoria regimens, like you get a hot towel at the sink, and you know, you're just like a little bit more than just an in and out. Like I don't want my salon to be an in and out. I don't want my stylist to be done a guest in 2.5 hours and pump through all the guests. Like if you're spending that much money on your hair, you should have a really good experience. So Euphoria helps bring that to the salon, and then also like the business end too, like their supports. So they have like tracking systems to help my stylists like keep track of everything, and then also like incentives, and like we're going to be going to Vision Quest in San Diego in May, and
that's awesome.
like really cool things. So I was in San Diego in November. I took their business course because I wanted to be successful before I even opened up my doors. Here's that word.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there's just like these opportunities that we can get. And yes, you can do that with any line, but I want it to be like, again, like lived in. Like you really love this line so much that you believe in it so much that you're going to live it day by day. And that's kind of what Euphoria does. Long story short. My short story.
It sounds like it's very passionate.
I am very
Yeah.
passionate. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So what was your, I guess you sort of went through the story of the first experience with it. What are the 3 most important habits to be successful in your business?
Oh, that's really good. This is something I try to talk to with my stylist every day, because I think a lot of times in the hairstyling field, we become unprofessional because we become friends with our guests, and then we forget that we're there doing a job. So number 1, I would say, is always stay professional and stay relatable to your field. So even if you do have that relationship with your guest, your number 1 concern is like their scalp and their hair. So I always say, like, I'm not a doctor, but I could tell you like what's going on with your scalp, where you should go, and how to help correct it. Whereas I don't know, I think sometimes we forget that part, like what we went to school for, like learning about the scalp and hair and the skin, and that those are just as important as like doing pretty hair and helping people in our chair, because half the time they don't know. And if they don't know, then how would they go to their doctor and say, hey, I think I need blood work because my scalp's itchy, red, and I'm thinning. You know, like there's these parts of our job that is what make us professional, and we get that part gets forgotten sometimes. But like I can look at somebody's scalp and I can't diagnose, but I could tell you what you need to do and where to start and how to approach it and get better hair. So they're
Me either.
really,
yeah. That's
see, but that's part of our
definitely
job.
Yeah.
That's part of our job. And then like too, it's like maybe if you don't know what you like about your hair, well, maybe you can't tell the person that it's heavy here because you don't know you just know it's not working.
Mm.
So then I could maybe help give you a product that will make it work, or a haircut that will make it work. It's not just as simple as like doing pretty hair.
Yeah.
It's making sure you know all the things. And then also following through with that. Like, so if I'm talking to you about your scalp because I'm concerned about it, well, I better have a solution for it. And if I don't, then I'm going to find a solution for you and tell you where to go, and then rebook so I can see your hair again in 4 weeks, so then I know if it's working or if it's not working. And if it's not working, then you need to go back to your doctor. Like there's just like those things that we forget. Yeah, we forget. You know, it's like, yeah, it is about doing pretty hair and having a nice experience, but we are professionals and we are trained, and we have massive textbooks that we have to go through about scalp and hair anatomy and body anatomy that people forget. And it's like, no, we are professionals, you know? So
Yeah, I had no idea.
yeah.
You'll have to go there.
Yeah,
I think
need a
everybody
better
should
hair
come.
experience.
Yeah, wow.
Well, I don't know. I'm just very passionate. PhD.
Yeah,
Hey, I
I'm
might have a
learning
PhD
so
one
much.
day. It just might not be in hairstyling.
I think you should have an honorary
Might
one
be in,
already.
like, psychology,
Yeah,
maybe.
What is one piece of advice you would give others just starting out?
Yeah, so like it's super scary, obviously, and I'm still in that phase. I remember like the lease portion was extremely terrifying, and I was like, am I doing the right thing? Am I like signing something? Like, how can I trust people? Like, I need a lawyer to look at this. Like, I didn't need the lawyer. I had a really good lease agent, but I still pay for the lawyer. Yeah, Graham.
Yeah.
And
Graham Robertson.
Yeah.
Episode, you find that.
Yeah.
And he totally had my back, but I was so scared. I still paid $2,000 for a lawyer, you know, like just to make sure. And I think lots of people do. They back out of these deals because we get scared, because it is scary and there is a lot on the line. And if you don't pay your rent, that's really scary, you know? So, I mean, if you're successful enough to get to getting a lease, then I say just keep going because you'll figure it out, you know? And then if you are professional and you are doing all the right things, people notice that, and then the business will continue to grow. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Right. That's some good advice.
But I'm still going through it.
Well, yeah, I think entrepreneur learning never really ends.
No, I don't think learning ever ends.
So what do you think the biggest challenge is to being an entrepreneur?
Like right now, I think I'm in that biggest challenge. We're a month out of opening. I'm still trying to teach, which I love, and I don't want to give up. So balancing that with life, and then still being there for my staff, but then also still trying to be a mom and a wife and a daughter. Like, I don't even know the last time I went to my parents' house. And I used to go there like all the time, you know, like they live 2 hours away. Let me add, I'm not that bad of a daughter. They live 2 hours away. But yeah, like, you know, I just need to find that work-life balance, I guess. Yeah.
I feel like that's a big thing coming up that everyone's starting to talk about, work-life balance. You know, just in the last few years, that has like risen. You know?
Well, actually, we talked about it in my course in San Diego too. Like they're like, what's really, because the thing we hear is it's so hard to hire stylists. It's like, yeah, because we're not being accommodating to a new generation of people that aren't trained to work around the clock. Like, it's just a different generation, and not that it's wrong, not that they're lazy. They're not. They want to work when they want to work, and we need to learn to either grow with it or we'll plummet off the hill because we won't find people that want to work for us.
Yeah, and the 4-day work weeks.
Yeah,
and like
everyone loves that.
Tech is making it a lot easier so that people don't have to work.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I feel you.
Yeah, I feel like the new generation too, it's just like they're not as materialistic as past generations. Like,
no,
we were shoved with so much stuff, and yeah, now minimalism is the thing. Like, they don't need a bunch of money,
which is crazy to me.
Stuff.
I just want all the things.
It's totally our generation. We just like we're shoved that.
I want it now.
I want it now, and I don't want to wait for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Starting out. What's the 3 most important habits?
I think we did that one.
What?
Yeah.
I said, well, I don't know if I labeled them properly, but professional was number one.
Yeah.
What's your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
I just like love going to work. Like, I don't want to leave the salon. Like, I will put in a 12-hour day and I'm like, oh, I guess I better go home. But I'm like in no rush to get home, like ever. Like, I love it. Yeah. But I created a space that I love, and I created a team that I love. And I think that is so cool. Yeah.
I think that comes up here too.
Yeah, it's really hard to do, but great when you find it.
Yeah.
That, like, perfect mojo between everyone where it just functions good. Yeah.
Yeah, culture is so important, like, especially A, in a salon, but B, with like bringing on a company like Euphoria, that's my only line. And so if you don't believe in that culture, then maybe the salon's not the right fit, because you have to really want it and want to be part of that culture, which I think is fantastic, but it's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay, you know. But culture is so important, and like positive leadership.
What about you said there was like incentives and things like that?
Yeah, so so for example, some of my girls want to go to Vision Quest. It's a 3-day conference in San Diego. There's 4 keynote speakers. It's more of like a mental health retreat / leadership retreat. It's not necessarily just about hair. Will it help you grow your business? Yes, but it's going to help you be a better person. And this is where the teacher in me just loves it, because I'm all into psychology and leadership and all that stuff. And this totally intertwines with that. So that makes me love that company even more, because this company is like weirdly like who I am before I even knew they existed. So like it's really cool. So there's like incentives. So like as a Euphoria salon, they'll ship me a box of, say, Elixir One, and then all the proceeds from Elixir One will go towards their tickets to the trip. And then so I'm a little bit salesy with them, but I'm like, so can you factor in the Canadian dollar? Like,
Nice.
and they do. So it's like, you don't ask, you won't get. So you might as well ask and try to negotiate with that. But yeah, there's like lots of incentives, and then incentives for the team. And I think the biggest part, or the best part, is having team incentives, not like one person incentives, like, oh, so and so sold the most. Well, we're only going to reward that person. And everyone's like, well, why do I even try? She wins every time. So then it's team incentives, not one person incentives. Little stuff like that is what I learned through Euphoria, actually. That's a good way to be inclusive about it. Yeah, exactly. Smart. And it is, because otherwise, like, the one person will just sell everything and everyone else will feel discouraged, and then they just stop trying. So, but yeah.
I like what you said about negotiations too. Not everyone realizes like how many things in life are negotiable.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
100%. Negotiate your way into anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen him do it a lot of times.
Bad enough, you can get it.
Every trip we go on to, everything and anything I'm negotiating.
Even in like retail stores, we'll go up to the till, and he'll be like, "So, what kind of discount can I get on this?" And like, "Well, they're not on sale." And it's like, "Well, what sales do you offer?
But what could you give me?"
Always get at least 10% off, like any shoes I buy or anything, and that's with like big box stores here in Saskatoon.
Really,
it's wild.
As long as like.
Yeah, I guess there's no harm in asking. You have to ask.
Because most of the people at the till are like, well, I don't know. I can't really make that decision.
But then they're like, oh, let me go get my manager.
Sometimes they don't even do that. Like, I'm recalling one time specifically, I can't remember what store it was, but he was buying shoes, and he asked the person behind the counter, and they're like, no, like, they're not on sale. And he's like, yeah, but what kind of like sale could you offer me? And they're like, well, we have a student discount. And he's like, well, I recently graduated. And he's like, I guess so. And it's like, if you didn't ask, you would have never got it.
Exactly. I love shoes as well. Yeah. Right?
Okay, wait. Were we on the wins now?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you realize your business idea had the potential to be successful? Are you sure we didn't hit this?
No, I think I talked about it though.
Okay.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm not successful yet. I would like to be successful, but I think I've always known that if you believe something enough, then you can make it come to life, and then hopefully it will be successful. And I watched like my mentor Alicia do that, and she's a big dreamer too, and anything that she has done, she has done well. Now she owns Salon Scale, which is a whole other world. But I watched her do it, and I was like, well, she can do it, so can I. And I am. Well, but I'm just not successful yet. Like, we were 1 month in, but
still say the same thing in a year.
Maybe we'll see. I'll come back.
You probably are successful right now.
Yeah, you already have it up and going.
Yeah, it's running.
Entrepreneur just like downplays themselves in their head like so much. It's crazy.
And look, you're on a podcast talking about it.
Yeah,
success. What is?
Yeah.
I guess.
What made you decide to take the leap of faith? You wanted to do this. Why? What made you decide, hey, I need to do this? There's no waiting.
Yeah, I think I was just, I don't know how to say this right now. I've always wanted to, I just want to know where I'm going to work every year and every day. With teaching right now, I always end up getting a contract, but I never quite know, and I just need some stability. I have 2 little boys that are very, very busy So I need to like be there for them and know where I'm going to work for them. And this was kind of like May came around and I didn't know where I was working next year. And I was like, I better do something because I need to know where I'm going to work. And that's kind of where I decided to do this.
So a little bit
Jump
of
in and
yeah.
chew that off.
Oh, here, I'm going to ask
When did you face your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
I faced a few big challenges in life.
And a child one.
Yeah. No, thanks. But yeah, both of them are both grief. So when I was 17, my cousin died. She was killed by a drunk driver. And that's why I didn't do so well my first year of university. I was grieving a lot. And I was young. I was 17 years old in my first year of university. Like I was a fall baby. I went straight from my small town to Saskatoon. And then this big life event happened. And I had to figure that out. And I wasn't really okay. But I did figure it out. It took me a while to figure that time out. And nobody talked about grieving then. Like that wasn't really something that it was like okay to talk about, or it was okay to be upset all the time and okay to be crying all the time. And that was a time where it wasn't as, it was more like taboo if you were talking about your grief.
Yeah.
So then I learned how to persevere when I went to hair school, I guess. I like pushed through and I learned who I was in a different way. And I was still doing something in my career path that I wanted to do because I wanted to be a teacher and I wanted to be a cosmetology teacher. And you can't be a cosmetology teacher unless you have that hair background. So in my mind, I was like, well, I'm going to be a hairstylist, but if I ever want to go into teaching, I'll always have this in my back pocket. So that was probably my number one challenge. Number two was, when my son passed away. So he was stillborn at 30 weeks. So that was awful. And everybody knew I was like very pregnant and going to be having a baby soon. And even when I announced it, like people didn't understand. Some people were like, "Oh, congratulations!" And I'm like,
"No."
But like, yeah, it is congratulations. Like, I did have a beautiful baby boy, but like, yeah, he's not with us. So there's that, but that is also like kind of, I've been really passionate about that and like teaching people how to. It's okay to grieve and your feelings are valid. And I've done like a lot of psychology research and like, this is where my teacher brain comes in. I'm like totally into the psychology side of it. And I like learned why I was feeling like that. And I learned how to grow around it through going to school. Like I like doing my ed degree was very triggering for me because one thing about education is your life is like so they'll ask you something and it's so triggering and they don't even think about how that could be triggering. And so that was hard, but then also it helped me like grow and like put myself in these situations where I could like not be so hurt by a topic coming up like in school, like learning about how babies grow, like that was triggering for me. And so the social justice side of it. And then I just like, I still talk about it. And I'm a very big advocate for lost parents. And I've quieted down a lot recently, but I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I need to continue to educate on this. So yeah. And then with that, you help people. So I've helped so many people that honestly like wouldn't even know what to do. And again, like 2 days ago, a girlfriend, I won't say who obviously, but came up to me, hey, my friend's going through this. I'm like, well, this is what they need to do. You need to phone the empty arms. You need to go to fetal assessment. You need to do this and be prepared and be there for her. And so with that, I can help people too. But yeah, those are probably the hardest things. But then I learned how to persevere. And then by persevering, I learned how to grow and continue to learn and educate. And it's kind of just who I am. I just educate all the time, whether it's about psychology or loss awareness or Métis history or hairstyling. Like that is my passion. I'm meant to teach people. So yeah.
You're good at it.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
Do you have like a specific part of Métis history that's your favorite to dive into?
Oh my gosh. Well, so my family, they were pretty prominent in the Hudson Bay Company. Like, I was a Kennedy and a Mackay, and so my family was like chief factors of York Factory and Cumberland House and all this. And then my husband goes to me, I had like famous explorers that were like Métis explorers that were looking on the Franklin expedition, like so cool. Like I'm such a nerd because of my family connection to it. But then my husband's always like, well, what happened? Like, because obviously, like, my Métis side of my family was like hidden, and then like that's my dad's side, like they grew up very poor. And he's like, well, what happened? I'm like, well, racism is what happened. I'm like, they weren't allowed to say who they were. And because I'm like Scottish Métis, like lots of people don't really get that. But in my theory is we were colonized faster because we really had to hide who we were and pretend to be white to fit in with society. So my family was at or I call it the rebellion because I grew up in the early 2000s, 90s, but the first resistance and the second resistance. And I could never figure out why my family moved to like Wingard, Saskatchewan. And it's because I learned in university that like their houses were burnt down in Red River. And then I came home and I'm like, well, now I know why it's not talked about. And then because I could never figure out why like they left Red River, you know, like why did my family move from Red River? Like, yeah, we had the fur tie connections throughout Cumberland House, like throughout Saskatchewan and Manitoba, but that was normal because they traveled and they followed the buffalo and they were interpreters for the Hudson Bay Company too, like some of them. And some of them were really famous buffalo hunters I have read about. And yeah, I could never figure out why they moved, but they moved because they weren't safe in Red River. So then they moved to Wingard, which is like by Fort Carlton, Duck Lake. And then in the early, so it must have been around the war, my grandma was the youngest. Or second youngest, and she never went to World War II, but her siblings did, and they moved to Weirdale. And I always thought that they just moved there because they just needed a change in scenery. But I have this theory that Grandma never talked about. My grandma's not alive, so I can't ask her. I have this theory that they moved for a reason because of racism. I can't prove that because she's not alive anymore. And some of my family don't like talking about it because it hurts. But that is my theory. And I can't prove that my grandma went to day school, but I'm 98% sure she was in day school. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom often tells me that they were forced to like marry like Scottish people and stuff like that, just to like, that's such a prominent gene that it, like makes you start looking white and you know, like instantly.
And but then it's like also, well, that's just it. I'm very fair.
Yeah,
and I
had a red beard.
And my
So
grandmother was like married, like Métis family married Métis family married Métis family married Métis family, like all the way to my grandmother. My grandmother was the only one that didn't marry somebody who was not Métis, like somebody from outside the community. And because of that, I am very fair. But then I also have like this really cool family history, and I'm really into it, and I like to teach our family about it. And there's, with that family history, there's like books. Like my family is in so many books, so many Canadian history. It's insane. Like I could just read, like I go through wormholes and I'll just read and read and read and read. And it's really cool.
Making your own book?
I would love to. I just can't work for a school division while I do that.
Oh, is that right?
They own them, yeah. If you write a book while you work for a school division, the division owns it. So
yeah, that kind of makes sense if you do research at a university.
Because it's like when you do research, exactly, then the university owns it. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I wrote in university. I took a SunTep education class, and I was very pregnant at the time with my third son. So I didn't go to the archives, but they went to Winnipeg and they went to St. Boniface and they all went through the archives. I was very fortunate where my family history is like in so many books that I could literally just research at home or on my computer or go to the library and find a book and just look up the last name and I'd find my family in it. Not everybody is that fortunate with their family history. So for me, it was a little bit easier to find, but yeah, there's tons of information out there. It's crazy. You just need to know where to look.
Churches and libraries.
Yeah, churches and libraries. Yes. Yeah.
You need to track down your roots.
Yes.
Start at those locations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gail Morin's a good place to start with the genealogy stuff. She did all the genealogy, I think, until like 1980 something. Like I found my grandma's brothers and sisters in the books. Like that's how far she went. Right. And then I don't know if there's more, but yeah.
I'm sure there is.
There probably is.
Yeah. That's such a rich history.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's also sad.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, oh well, that's why like it was frowned upon, and you could like my great grandmother was a rebellion baby, so they actually her biological father came up for the resistance. He was on the wrong side, but he was also Indigenous. And he actually captured Louis Riel. I'm 98% sure that this was Mud Eater. There's a book about him. Yeah. But yeah, he's actually Indigenous too, and he pretended to be white. This is a thing. And so they had to adopt my great-grandmother to a family friend, and then they raised her, but she always knew who her mother was. And it was another Métis family that adopted my great-grandmother. So yeah, there's like this, but then they had to hide it because after the rebellion, you could be jailed just for being Métis. So everything was hidden, and there's just like some unique stuff because of that. But then it's weird because I like go to a family event with that side and we're all sitting in a circle and the men are on one side and women are on another, and like it's the culture is still there. Oh, yeah. It's just we don't realize it's there. It's really cool now that I know about it. But yeah.
See, you're able to identify that.
Yeah. But like yeah, we do it all the time and I'm like, oh, that's so weird that everybody's doing that.
In the genes.
Yeah. We just navigate to a circle all the time. And that's how it was. We grew up with grandma and grandpas and we all sat in a circle in the living room because the house was too small for all of us, and we'd all just get together last minute. There'd be 50 people at the house because that's just how it was. And the men would be on one side visiting, the women would be on the other side visiting. It's just how it was.
Yeah.
Well, now I see the cultural aspect to that.
Yeah, two of my relatives just died, and they always held the big family events, and it's sad that I now don't have that, but we want to create a cultural based home.
Yeah.
So that like all of our family members can come.
Exactly. And that's just it. So
great feeling, right?
Yeah, when my grandma passed away, that kind of stopped for a while.
Yeah.
But we like as a family said like we need to bring this back. So this summer we had a reunion. We call it a reunion. But so I have like 80 first relatives on that side of my family alone. Wow. And we all got together at the farm and we all like really it was so awesome. And then there's like games and like
I love that.
Campfire and like the kids are all running around the farm just like we did. It was like amazing.
Yeah.
That's
so we're bringing it back.
Bring those same kind of memories for your kids.
Yeah. And we had the family history there too. Like I brought my family history, my auntie brought hers, and then we like talked about it in circles.
Yeah.
It was great.
Did we ever say that face your biggest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. When do you plan to expand your product line or market reach?
Oh gosh, so this is something like my brain just goes and goes and goes. I'm like, well, I could do this and I could do that. I can't expand yet. It's pretty. Well, we're a month in, not even, and but I have big dreams, and I will probably do something. Yeah.
Are you like limited being with?
No, I can bring in other lines if I want. I just don't want to
Open up other locations too. That's awesome.
Yeah, like I could do anything like that. Another thing, well, I don't want to actually say because somebody might steal my idea.
I know, that's the problem.
Actually, yeah. Someone might steal my next idea. But my long-term dream used to be, well, I don't know if I'll get there, but I want to open up an advanced academy, like a hair school, but advanced, like not like, I realized that I don't want to teach new hairstylists. I want to teach hairstylists with skills already. I mean, teaching new hairstylists is fine. It's just, there's a lot of fumbling and I make it look so easy and it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot. But that's still rewarding, but I think an advanced academy would be like, I think the city needs it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, if you do get to your other idea and you want to come back and talk about it anytime, just let us know. Because I'd be interested.
Yeah.
So what made you want to become an entrepreneur in the first place?
I don't know if I ever really wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think I wanted a salon culture that I couldn't find. Like nobody has that anymore. And COVID did a lot to our industry too. Like it went to a lot of like rentals and suites. And so I'm bringing something back to the industry that hasn't been done in a long time, especially in this city. And with that, there's resistance and change. And people are like, well, why are you doing this? Aren't you chair renting? I'm like, well, here's the thing with chair renting is like, if you're actually doing your books properly, you don't make any more money. It's like whether you're a commission salon and it's still your business behind your chair, you know, like nobody goes up to a combine salesman and says, oh, well, you only make this much commission. You know, they make millions sometimes. Like one sale is $5 million, you know, so like the world is yours. It's the same. I think I've done both. I prefer to do commission because then the salon is the one that has to bring in all the stuff and you just show up at work and you do awesome work. And then the salon is the one that has to buy foil and buy color and make sure there's product, which is me. But whereas when you're renting and you run out of foil halfway through your day, you're like to your friend who's renting next to you, hey, can I buy some foil off you? Like, you know, you don't have to worry about that. So
I guess if they're renting too, it's that would almost be better for you because then you would make the money, but then they might not make anything. Right?
Exactly, and then they're still having to pay rent. There's pros and cons to both. Like I said, I've done both. There's pros and cons. But if you, but if you are a good leader, so I think them is like they don't want to work the hours. But if you're a good leader, then you can maybe accommodate some of that.
Bring that
culture back.
Yeah.
Very brilliant. Around the why?
Yeah. Second
that.
one.
Why
do you believe entrepreneurship is important for Métis?
Oh, well, that's because we're always like, well, we always have to adapt to situations now, don't we? We're very adaptable. And it is like it's survival for us. Like we had to survive. Whether we were like, you know, learning how to survive after the first resistance or whatever. So we just kind of make what needs to happen because it's how we survive. And we're very adaptable to change and growth. And, you know, it's really important, but I don't know how else to like say it any other way.
I think you said it good before when you said, you know, you couldn't find the culture you were looking for.
Yeah, we couldn't find, so I created the culture. Yeah, exactly.
I think, that's great. What's
that sound?
It's my phone. Okay. Like, I thought I turned it off, but apparently I did not. I'm not very tech savvy for someone that has to be like doing social media stuff. I'm not very good at it.
It's so hard.
Learn all those skills too. It's like almost forced upon.
Yes, it is. It's very overwhelming at times, especially if you're like me and not good at it.
You get better.
Yeah,
you really do. It just takes commitment, just like anything.
Sometimes we go to our daughter for help too.
She's like 11.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm like that too. I like to my niece, or like I have an apprentice. She's 20. I'm like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
She take my phone and do it for me. She
They're
loves
just so
it.
good. Yeah, our daughter loves like editing videos and stuff. So when we have a question,
Probably way
like,
faster.
What do
too.
you
Yeah.
use?
Yeah, she wants to be a little YouTuber.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Why do you believe your product or service is unique compared to others in the market?
Yeah, so I talked about this.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing something back that hasn't been done before. Euphoria has never existed as a salon in Saskatoon or Saskatchewan even, I don't think. And it's very like California West Coast. So although Euphoria has been around since like 1997, and most of us older stylists have heard of it, used it, sorry. Yeah, like it is not really something that's done here. So that's how I'm different. And then because of the smell. The smell is so good, you guys. It's like it wants people to come back for more. Like it's just so relaxing, and like you walk into the salon and it's just the aroma is just so nice. And
you're really building up the smell.
The smell is addicting. Like literally, I do hair and they're like, oh my god, that smells so good. And I'm like, yeah, and it's also very relaxing because it's aromatherapy. I do, yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I do. Yeah. Come on in.
I will.
We'll be making some appointments shortly.
When you said the hot towel, I love that.
Yeah, I do the hot towel. Like it's supposed to be like an add-on service, but because we're new, I'm literally doing it to everybody. And everybody's like loving it and like so relaxed. I'm like, do you care if I wreck your makeup? They're like, nope. I'm like, hot towel it is. It's a hot towel. Yeah. Everyone's like half asleep, but they have awesome hair. That's just it. Yeah. We should do a makeup touch-up too.
Wow, that could be a nice little.
Little add-on.
Have somebody to do that. Crazy. So service from here up.
Yeah. Right.
You had talked about creating that culture. What does that culture like feel like?
Oh, that's culture. I don't know. It's a culture. What does it feel like? It feels like you are believed in and you're valued and you have something backing you that you know is going to help you have the tools you need for success. Like I wouldn't spend as much money as I spent on this line. Like other lines you could buy, or even this line, you could buy a smaller intro if I didn't truly believe in it and know that it's like good for you and like that they're sustainable. And like, I'm very into that. Like, cause our beauty care in North America is not regulated well. Like we still have lead in our lipstick. Yeah. And formaldehyde in half of our makeup. So if it's not good for you, I'm not putting it on you. We're aloe based, like so plant stem cells, like just putting aloe on your skin is good, but your skin can't actually absorb it because you need like the stem cells. So our line is mainly aloe based. We do have a smaller line that's sage and thyme based, and that means so say if this was your bottle of shampoo, for example, the first ingredient in your bottle of shampoo is what? Do you guys know? Do you ever read the label?
Water?
See, look at me. Yeah, it's water. So that means 80% of your bottle is water. And then the rest is your soap. So for us, 80% of our bottle is aloe vera.
Oh, wow.
Or sage and thyme in our beautifying elixirs. So it's just like the concentration is so nice. It's so good for your hair. Like people like are like, oh my God, my hair has never felt so soft. And I'm like, yeah, because we use aloe vera in like everything. So like our color too. And it's good for you and good for the planet and good for your body. Whereas like it takes 26 seconds for a chemical to get through your skin and into your bloodstream. So if we're putting lead in our lipstick, we have heavy minerals in our body. So I'm very like aware of that. And I teach that to my guests and everybody else too.
Yeah. I have to go home and just chuck.
Literally. I'm not so sorry, but you will actually chuck like everything. So I definitely do.
Everything that is like problematic, like all products just have like some kind of bad thing.
Or maybe they say they're good, but they're owned by a big company that is not good. Yeah, exactly.
Say that.
Yeah.
There's movies about how bad they are.
Yes.
What's that one?
There's one of
Brockovich.
Yeah.
Yes.
PNG.
Yeah.
That's one thing we always do on the podcast, like mention one movie. I don't know why.
Well, that was the second movie. You made an Edward Scissorhands reference at the beginning. The guy with 7 blades.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That's wild.
It was like 7 blades, and he's literally like doing this. And I'm like,
maybe that was the inspiration for that movie.
Maybe.
Somebody saw him and they were like, I can make a movie about
I'm going to do this. For the inspiration for the shears.
Yeah, that could be too.
Yeah.
I don't need
I think we're on like the 3rd one.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
We're almost burned through all of these questions.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's great. I haven't learned this much all week.
See? I'm very passionate about education.
Oh, I think we kind of touched on this, but how do you manage your time effectively when juggling multiple proprieties as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I don't think I do a good job of that, honestly. Even last night I was working till midnight. My husband's like at work because he works night shift. He's a power engineer, and he's like, "Stop working." And I'm like, "Yeah, I need to go to bed." But it's like marketing or like whatever. Like I'm making a coupon flyer, or I don't know, like, or maybe I'm making a contract for the business, or a lesson to teach them how to blow dry properly, or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like I don't stop working, so I don't think I do a good job at that. I don't have a good answer.
Something to work towards.
I don't have a great answer.
I get like minimal sleep. I get like 3 hours at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I run off. Away.
Right?
Everyone's talking about work-life balance all the time. I feel like there isn't.
I don't think there isn't.
No.
And if there is,
anyway,
well, because we were raised by boomers.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
We weren't ever given that option.
Yeah, we lived through like having a recession.
Yeah,
like we have to.
You're not juggling multiple.
We have to go to work.
That's awesome. How do you approach customer acquisition and retention strategies? How do you get your customers?
Well, for me, that's something that like, so I actually have had to like reach out to people because I stepped away from my chair for like 8 years. And I just reached out to who I still had contacts with, which wasn't very many because I left before social media was like huge with hair. Like that wasn't a thing when I did hair. So people have found me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you used to do my hair like 10 years ago." And I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, it's like the best haircut I've ever had." I'm like, you're joking. Like there's other really good stylists in the city. But thank you. So that's something, yeah. So I'm constantly like reaching out to people, like leaving my business card, talking about my business. I still have like, even though I say that I still have room for clientele or like guests, like most of them came back. If I had their phone number, they all came back, which is really impressive considering I haven't done hair in so long. But some of them were like, "Oh, thank God, I was just waiting for it," because they all knew. They all knew I was so passionate about it. But yeah, so I'm always doing that. And then like when they're in my chair, like, let's be honest, we all know we need a haircut every 4 to 6 weeks if your hair is short. Yeah. So like, let's just rebook you. And if it doesn't work that week, you just phone me that week and we'll move it. Like just making sure that you're in track of like your guests and making sure that they know like, hey, your hair is going to grow. Your hair grows this much a month. Yeah. So if your hair grows this much a month, then I need to see you before Easter or whatever, because you're going to need a haircut and then I'm going to be too booked and I won't be able to take you. So like rebooking is huge. I would say that's the biggest one. And then I'm always marketing myself. Like I'm always networking. I'm always like talking about my business and like what we're doing and what we're doing differently from other salons. Because we are doing things differently, and we may be the new people out there, but people are watching and people notice that we're doing things different. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great answer. What other ones? We have 2 left. How do you identify and capitalize on emerging market trends?
Oh, I'm such a consumer. So in my industry, I find it like almost too easy because I love buying products, and like that's part of why I love doing hair, because I love everything that goes with it. So I mean, in the beauty industry, it's like very much like right now, like translucent hair colors in, and like the opaque isn't in. Whereas I used to be like an opaque girl, which I know that probably means nothing if you're not a hairstylist. Like opaque means that you can't see through it. And then translucent means it's like glimmery, shiny, like almost like glass, like you can kind of see through it a little bit. So like just like always staying on top of like Fashion Week and stuff like that, and like seeing what's in, and this is part of the reason why I go to California, because I go to California and I see what they're doing there, and then I come back and I bring it here.
That's smart. Well, I was like in Saskatchewan, we're like the last to have anything.
Yeah.
So if you can bring it before,
So in California right now, and I can't fully execute, and I shouldn't say this on video because somebody will take my idea.
Well, you don't have to.
Okay, but anyway, in California, they are doing some things different, and it's some things that I learned in this course that I went to in San Diego, and I'm taking tips from the big companies and trying to bring it back in a way that is more meaningful in our city. Yeah.
So if you want to find out what those are, go check her out.
Yeah.
Book an appointment.
Plug that.
We sort of touched on the work-life balance, but what would be a final piece of advice that you would give to an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I feel like I'm so new in this. Just like keep going after your dreams, because no matter how hard life gets, and if you have a dream, you can achieve it. And I've done it twice, and I just don't even know what the future brings. So like, you know what I mean? Like you, that's me. It's because the snow is melting. Like just keep dreaming and always go after your dreams, because if you want something bad enough, you're going to find a way to make it work.
So, I love that.
Yeah.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Well, Amie, thanks for coming
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was so nice to meet you and learn so much.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
We're going to have you back on. And
I'd love that.
Do a little checkup.
Yeah.
Progression video.
Yeah, we are. Okay. Well, thank you, Amie, for coming on. This has been the Global Falcons podcast. Again, I'm your host, Andrew L.G. Hunter. You can find me on all platforms as that.
And I'm your host, Angela Hunter, on all platforms as Angela Hunter.
What is your hair?
Oh, I should probably give you guys that. So my hair one is, honestly, I have too many handles. Let me just look. My hair, my salon is at Lather Hair Company. And then my personal hair handle is amy.lather.haircompany on Instagram.
I think I followed them all.
I think you did too.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And I think I said leather before, not lather. That's my bad.
I never even noticed. I didn't notice. So you're all good. It's all good.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming.